Pagkana! Game 3! Third tayo overall, third. 4 points lang yan. Kaya nating itap 1 yan.
Southwestern side of the map. It makes sense that maybe Reject want to go a little bit more west of their normal drop spot, so they're already well positioned inside this phase on circle. Myth are going to go down to Primorsk, loot up, and then probably rotate up the coastal line of the west.
Game 3. Akala ko may Ramar. Rangel na naman. Wala na. Lalong natin na chicken. 30 points ang bal. Predicted ko na talaga yung bal na yan eh. Game 1 pala, nagpasiklam na rin yan eh. BTR pangalawa, 28. Utak BTR, hindi na nagbigay ng kill. Papatay na, ano? Utak talaga.
Everest for Zeus. And coming into phase 2, they have a lot of space to reposition for themselves. So Zeus, I recommend, will go to Everest.
I think that would be a great play to go for, especially if you want to try and get information of what's happening inside of Gatka itself.
Yeah.
That would be one of the best course of action to do if you want to do so. I would say even stay there until you see phase 2, because you see a lot of
like game 3.
It is around the position of Gatka fields, and then you have boom, big hard shift up to the north side.
Game 3.
And then the most important position in that entire circle becomes Everest. So if you want to stay there for the long period of time and wait for phase 2 or even phase 3 before you start moving away with the information you gathered, I think that would be an okay course of action for Zeus to take. There are other teams that are got good position in the circle. Is Geek Fam widespread inside of Gatka? That is something that we see happen a lot in Imperium. That is, I think, so one of the most famous strats you do when you drop in Gatka fields. As long as he has a car, and if a team tries to contest you, you regroup.
Oh yeah,
that's what you do. So Geek Fam, it's a pretty easy early stage, and hopefully they don't have too
looting
many
pace, kompleto lahat, 64 players, 16 teams.
Obviously, it's more closer on the east with this kind of phase on circle. Nasser, Yala, BTR, DS, all kind of somewhat either edge or outside the circle. And that's where the Xavier, who dropped in Pachinki, need to be a little bit aware that if they don't disengage away from that city early enough, they could have 2, 3, 4 teams around them. So I would like to see them, even if they send one player up to Pachinki Hill to be a scout, to be some form of an anchor point to a better position coming in towards the end of phase 1. Either way, they do have to move out sooner rather than later.
Eventually, they're going to have to make things work out for themselves. Going to be seen I8 trying to cross over that bridge.
Just like
M1, there was no one going to be gatekeeping it. There was not Reject, there was not A1. So, and yeah, it's a lot earlier too, as you said. And then the circle too. There's no inherent rush this time around. You're safe, and they're just going to be
bridge block na kagad.
Looking for information. If no one's defending, they're going to push.
Hindi na magpapapasok tong mga to.
I worry that they're stopping
hindi.
midway. Maybe they're just getting information and are all crossing forward. A1 are a little bit familiar, being a
Nag-send lang ng scout
team as well, might be a little bit familiar with how I8 like to kind of pathfind their way through from the military island. But I8, I worry because they're going quite deep into this phase 1 circle without any information at all. They could get caught out by Reject, but because they're doing it early enough, teams like Reject aren't in any way solidified positionally in this circle, so it's working out for IA for the time being.
Working okay. Got to be careful. Duello still inside of Ferry Pier, and seem like UZM is going to be the one to actually have the first contact with a playoff Reject. UZM, how are you going to play this one? You're way too far away from the rest of your team. You've got players currently up north and even to the west of his current location. And seem like Duello maybe wants to go and chase him down. He's not interested in taking the fight. Very clearly, he wants to be able to find a compound or a good spot, clear up that position, and have a team roll into that position. That's the game plan that UZM is currently doing, but it's serving also as a sacrificial lamb, because you are going into the unknown, right, Imperium? And because of that, it could go against you, but seems like despite being spotted away by Reject, you will make it over to this warehouse and will be able to create maybe an opportunity for this team. And they're going to be zooming forward. Okay, they're going in one by one, but they're not losing anyone. As long as it's working, I'm not going to...
Lahat ng dahan na nila, may tao.
It's worked out for I8, and in the end, they've kind of found their feet and found their bones, but I do think there is a level of uncertainty on their rotation, which worries me about them, because when they're committing to a rotation, you realistically got to have a plan A, plan B, plan C in terms of where you are going to go, right? And it felt like there was a little bit of, oh no, there's a team here, where do we go now? For about 10 or 15 seconds. Luckily, they didn't get caught out, but it could have been a lot worse for them. They found
position ng mga teams dyan.
It's to the east of Quarry. But moving on over, Valdez
Baka
They're
pwede
still a
makalaban ng
Brosol,
beer
but they do
dyan.
have Gooey that's starting to loop more by Watertown. So thinking forward, coming into the end of phase one, the Xavier did do what I suggested, which is move out of Pachinki very early, and they've gone quite deep into phase one by the Chopsticks area. And interestingly enough, Geek Fam have not stayed in Gaka. They've actually opted for more of a hillside area.
Yes,
near
yes,
the
Roy, game 3
Observer
na.
Tower to the south of Observatory Tower, down the south of Gaka. So I find that a little bit interesting.
Actually, that was exactly what I was going to talk about. You just read my thoughts, Imperium. I was going to mention, actually, you got to be careful. That's an expensive car, Suporta. You've got to be careful how you use it. But exactly, this is actually a really good position for Geek Fan, because I think they're trying to read and look into the future a little bit and thinking, you got a lot of water over to the western side and also the south. So he's potentially, well, the entire team are expecting maybe the circle to center up, go up north, or maybe even to the east away from some kind of landscape of water. And if you go to the west of Gatka Fields, you got those little
4 points lang ang lamang.
From that spot, you can very easily scout to the east into the center circle as to what's happening. So if you have to go from from west to east,
Excuse me.
it's a lot easier than going from east to west, because you got to go uphill.
Yeah.
So because of that, the information game and further rotation potential, I think that's a big brain play from Geek Fam. Is that, of course, if they execute it properly, right?
Exactly. It's all about the execution. You can have the nicest recipes in the world, right? You can have the most expensive, luxurious recipes in the world, but if you don't know how to cook those ingredients, you're not really gonna have good food, right?
Safe yung papasukan, safe.
Why you got to be on the
that's
spot like that? Like,
that-
was it that bad when I cooked you
BTR,
some-
pwede makalaban yung DS,
Not
no?
cool. Not cool, man.
Man, the horror. Oh God.
So ano, 2 zone, no? Tangina, ano kaya kung 2 zone? Ilang games na lang na, 5.
Center quite slightly, not quite nicely, gone up north, and that puts Geek Fam's position. It's not as center to circle, but I think because it's high ground, it's still incredibly valuable for them.
Exactly. Now, if you have to rotate up north, you see Zeus, you know where also the Xavier are going to be, and you can even spot which team is moving forward. It's going to be I8. They're actually moving down southeast of where they are. So information gain for them is going to be huge, but Zeus has already started moving away from Everest, keeping Ziol still on a somewhat high ground position to gather more intel, but it seemed like they did not want to stay there for an extra phase. Phase 2 was their limit, and then they instantly start moving forward. They're talking about moving. Few teams are going for a little bit of a edge circle rotation, especially A1. They're not going straight for the circle, Imperium. They're wrapping around the southern side.
Start kay Mark. Maganda ba, Mark? Like and share sa mga baga, like and share.
They won't do that. You know, I'm okay with it. Teams play edge and it works.
Aba
great
na
if you play
tayo.
around the
Tulungan niyo na din po ako mag-share ng stream.
It's also a little bit similar
Laking bagay sa akin
for
yung like and share niya.
Yala
Thank you po,
on the
thank you.
east, along with Nasser. But that was more of a product of the fact that they were already on the east, so that they were threatened with caution. So A1's edge of circle rotation, a little bit more surprising, but I do like it indeed. Fight is going to break out between these two teams, though.
Simula na.
Looking to reposition. Going up with the rest of his team as Loka is knocked down. So
Wala ano, objectives mga teams no. Parang game 1 pa rin, napakasip pa rin yung mga teams.
Inside that compound that's outside of Headshot Hills, but Valdis are already there, and they could be putting Yellow under even more pressure, Max.
Of derbies happening on this game of Wrangle, interestingly so. Everyone trying to move forward. Concept will just go and squeeze right in between Nasa and also Yala.
Ayun na. O si Martin, minadali na naman. Kanina pa yung Martin na yan. Kanina pa yan. Si Martin talaga ako mga kamada dyan.
Do they intend to go for the crash onto Yala? Seem like they're just going to be going further, not interested in going for the breach just yet. But now it seems like teams have somewhat solidified decent positions. Valdis looking to play from Headshot Valley and maybe get himself a few opportunities onto Yala. But so far, nothing of value has really happened so for now, just now.
Are you sure now?
I think so. I think I got it at the end. I think I'm fine.
Okay, proud of you, man.
Cheers, man.
Proud of you, man. Really good clap for Max for getting his words out. Well, Zeus have a really solid 2-1-1 split. Like, this is the epitome of what Zeus do, right? They have such confidence in their ability to control areas.
Bisitahan yung Blacklist. Hindi, wala. Pag napalawan yan.
Bubble around them. Sometimes it can go away from them, right? It kind of didn't last game when Crypto got an initial kill onto Zeus, right? And that really didn't help them come into late stages of the game. And that can be the hit and miss factor that Blair brought up at the start of the broadcast.
Tatlong player nang namamatay pero wala pang teams na out.
Themselves with
Ryzen, backside!
in
Kay
the end
Missile!
should pay off.
Namatay si Ryzen!
Zeus.
Hopefully it will be the case for them. But Blacklist International, another
Pitas.
team that we were hoping to see some good things coming out from them, and they have impressed us so far, especially in that first game. They are going for Everest as of right now. They saw those potentially moving out, or maybe not. They just went for the position because they understand the value of such a spot, and they're instantly taking control. That's a lot of information coming their way. Navi already moving
Blacklist
down
sa
from
bundok,
Lord George Pole. They're going to have the clash
Nasa
happening
mountain
mainly
sila.
with Zeus. But the circle's going to shift, and when you have a circle like this, Ingatka feels wherever it goes, you can have a
Yung
big
Zeus.
migration of teams. And if
Tsaka
you're
yung
not in a
Team
good
14.
spot and you have to fight for compound, it could get tricky.
Pwede
And it goes
maglaban.
on
Ayun,
and on top of
kakabarata
the
na.
fight currently unfolding between Navi and Zeus.
Navi.
As Navi, they're taking control. They're decimating one by one the entirety of Zeus. As now only Godless is going to be up and ready to go. IC could still give some information as he's down on the side. But
Ayun,
there's
ubos.
nothing you can do. There is no
Ubos na naman
escape.
ng Zeus.
And Navi,
Impeach na yung caster na yun. Tol, magkaiba yung caster sa spectator. Magkaiba yan.
This is looking so far like a 35 point.
Yung sa atin kasi, yung sa ginagawa ko kasi, ako na spectator, ako pa caster. Ako pa yung panel. Sa mga official tournament, magkakaiba yan. Pag spectator ka, spectator ka. Wala control, walang control ng caster dyan.
Better control of that position. And they have the body advantage. You are literally putting yourself in a position, if you full send it in that area, where you are gonna be squad up, and it's exactly what happened to Zeus. They should have just cut their losses at that point in the game. But at the end of the day, it opens up control for Navi to hold on inside this phase 3.
BTR! Patay si Liquid. Ano nangyari sa BTR? Dalawa na nadadali. Hindi na kayang hindi na kayang mag-gold ng BTR.
Able to take themselves one extra kill into the likes of BTR. Still have to move forward. They've got to be careful. A1 are pushing down south.
Hindi na kayang mag-gold ng BTR.
Happening between these two teams. And Reject also complete. I love this rotation from Reject. If we could see the minimap at some point later on, you'll see what I'm talking about.
Pinapipitas sila, napipitas, hindi na ma-hold ng mga tao nila yung mga position na hawak.
They avoided every single
Dati
fight they
BTR,
could
makakita
ever
nyo,
imagine.
kahit
And
magkakalayo
then
yan.
I mean, that's great. If it works, man, I have no issues. This is a great rotate from Reject.
Marami na kasi malakas ngayon.
Very
Tol,
clever.
Marami na malakas.
Quite calculated. Benefited by the fact that Myth have been somewhat slow on their rotations coming away from Primorsk.
Kasunod
So
kaya
opened
Blacklist.
up more of a door.
Forcing the third circle.
DRS though, the team that won the last game in Sanok with some fantastic rotations up in the north, they're doing something similar. They're on towards that northwestern side of the circle. Yala, outside of Everest. Blacklist still hold on to Everest, but IA taking a couple of shots in their directions. They are trying to settle themselves into a strong position coming into phase 4.
Yeah, it's not going to be too easy if we have a big northern shift. So if they can already start setting themselves up for rotate, I think that would be really strong. But Myth,
Sana ganyan din sa atin, no? Kita yung
rotation, of course, Team Myth
katulad
from
pa rin ng dati,
Algeria.
kita yung mga nasa malalayong team.
They are going to struggle the most. I think they're going to suffer the most in this lobby if the circle goes any further
Wala
away
eh,
from where they're currently
tinanggalan
on
na
the
tayo
ground
ng
in the
ganyang
southwest.
spectate eh.
They got to move away from northern region.
Wala nang nawala si Microboy, umalat ng BTR. Oo, mali nga yan. Mali yung pag-kick nila kay Microboy.
So
Mali yung pagtanggal nila. Kailangan kasi nila ng fall guy dun eh.
they need to try and set themselves up
Nung
now,
natalo
which
yung
they're
BTR
trying to
sa,
do
ano,
with Roki trying to actually find himself a good spot.
fall guy lang si Microboy
But
dun.
then it's still not. That is such a hard
Pero feeling
road.
ko,
I
yun
cannot
yung
imagine Myth
bumuan
actually
maano
pulling
sa
it off
kanila eh.
without losing
Hindi naman sa
one or two
bumubuhat,
players.
pero key players
Oh,
nila
wow,
yan.
okay.
Ay, Salat, pasok ko zone! Ayan na!
Phase 4
Pwede na yan.
around the field.
Pwede na yan. Wala masyado makakalaban, Blacklist.
You either crash
Crowded sa ilalim eh. Balang pwede nila makalaban or Yala. Pagkakataon nila lang bawian yung Yala dito. In case, Yala yung dumali sa kanilang game to eh.
Truck of madness by the side of the road. Last player, BTR, is gonna have DRS. Sorry, DS, should I say? Yeah.
Bigatron, no? Eliminated na.
A hell of a lot of damage going on through as BTR are indeed wiped out.
Out in
Out
50
na.
for them, and that's
Wala na. Aangat na Blacklist. Ay, si Claire, knockdown. Puta, ito na.
International
Oy!
versus Fabulous. Fabulous got the high ground apparently. They
Ina, Blacklist sa kabal, oh.
Blacklist International. And
Yung
now
long.
losing everything.
Patay si Tyra.
Out, they're still up as a 3-man, but even then, this is not easy.
Patay si Claire. Tyler, batay na.
Now, as then the compound down below, but
Wala
Fabulous
kasi nga yung mga ball na yan.
exactly where they went. If you want to crash in a 4v2, all the strength to you. I would personally do that
Game
myself.
1 pa lang, napupulsohan ko na kaagad eh. Tignan natin talaga kung magtutuloy-tuloy.
And it might make the difference at the very end after the 20 games done are done and dusted.
Yeah, but also
Naku po.
makes me think, why didn't
4 versus 2 yan.
Blacklist stay on Everest, realizing that a team might have been wrapping around them, right? The circle
Hindi
shifts
tayo
away
madali
from
dyan.
it's phase 4, edge of circle.
BTR nga, hindi
situation,
natras ang
you're
kanina
better
ng game
off
1 eh, no?
being outside the circle, which means there's a higher chance you can pick a team off, and you're avoiding all the commotion on your entryway in up until the next phase hits up. DS have really gotten a stranglehold over the Xavier and Yala inside this eastern side of the circle. Really good play from the South Korean side.
Oh, luckily enough, not going to be spotted by Mafia Ninja just yet, but Mafia Ninja...
Si Ions, knockdown na rin, no? Sabal pa rin.
With the DP28, actually...
Bagsak na rin si Ions.
Oh, he's just... There you go. That's
Ay, patay na si Ions, oh. Pinatay ni Martin. Alas na lang. Matatalo ng 4v4 ng Blacklist dun, ah.
By the entirety of DRS. So really good play. Unfortunately, A1 delayed that rotation. They tried to go for a sneaky rotate just like Reject, but unfortunately for them...
Ay, pinasok na si Alas, ay.
As there we go, we said it. We want to see Valdez go for the aggressive play and take down Blacklist International. That's exactly what they do as they still remain as a four-man crew with 6 kills to their name. They
Top 2, top 3 out na.
It's the third game of the day.
DS na lang yung top 4 ng buhay.
14 kills
Ay, no.
between 2 games so far.
Bababa placing nila.
That's 20 kills in 3 games. That average?
Lakas nga yung ball, malakas nga yung ball.
Insane at the start of the PMWO. Really strong aggression and control from Valdez Esports. They have absolutely no fear on any kind of breach coming on through.
Kaya nga, di ba nung game 1, BTR, hindi inatrasan. Game 2, Blacklist, game 3. Di na ulit Blacklist.
Most of the teams, they are covering the edge. The only team that's in any way in the center of the circle
Di na nagbigay yung
Navi that hold on
alam
to
nilang
that radio
ano na eh,
tower
kulang sa
square.
tao Blacklist eh.
No intention of
Pinasok na
moving
nila
away
eh.
from this spot anytime soon. The only time that you're going to be able to move them away is or if the circle moves out, or if you try and go for the full-on push onto their...
Kaya natin kung makachichikan ng Balta, feeling ko round na ng Balta eh.
Going farm wide in the open fields. DRS is going to be nearby them, so you've got to be careful how you sneak your way forward. And it seems like DRS are alert of what's happening, as that's going to be Nima.
Ganda ng posisyon ng ball, eh.
By a great shot from Sara on the M4.
Wala silang ano dyan.
Circle's about to move, so they might have to actually put an end to this fight prematurely. You do not want to push this any further, because if you have to move into the circle, you cannot take that fight between each another. So we'll see where it's going to pop for this next phase. This fight might not go any longer, depending on where it goes.
Pwedeng naunahan lang sila, pwedeng naunahan lang sila ng ball. Kasi nakita natin sa posisyon kanina nung nagbabakbakan, lamang sa posisyon yung ball eh. Nasa taas sila eh. Bumaba agad yung Blacklist eh, bumaba ka agad. Eh may lumabas sa taas. Nadali ka agad yung Tyler.
Area for Valdez to wrap around and hold on and control the northern side of the circle, which has
like and share pala sa mga bagong dating, like and share habang nanonood tayo.
To have it all to play for, right? You're talking about IA, DS, Yala, Fnatic Zombies, Nasser, Mythic. There's very little cover inside the south side for all of these teams.
Pero kung tinalo ng Blacklist yun, yung position ng BAL sana nandyan ngayon.
Inside the circle. That's a third ratio. All the other teams all gonna have to fight for a good position, or we'll lose a lot of players in the process of that rotation actually unfolding.
Exactly.
Nagwa-warm up pa lang ang Blacklist. Guys, huwag kayo mag-alala. Nagwa-warm up pa lang.
And we'll have to see how things could work out. Geek Fam could be one of the team, and we said it, right? They went for the high ground position.
Napakahalaga ng sasakyan, nakita mo, no? Hindi nila iniibon yung mga sasakyan nila.
Onto DRS. They clear out one hay bale. There's one more to go, and if you do so, you're literally going to be fully uncontested onto the northern western side of this circle. You will be the king of the fields as AJ tries to think a little bit wider and gets mowed down by the opposition. The Japanese team of Reject on absolute fire this game, Imperium.
Really good from Reject. They had to create a controlling start. Sarah got the first knock earlier on. They had to take advantage of that. They breach it in. Mythic now on towards the western side. Fnatic Zombies driving in. IA running and gunning as Navi are getting breached inside the radio tower.
This is the YOLO moment we were talking about. This is the tipping point. You have to take the fight, or otherwise you will get nothing out of this one. Na'Vi, though, still with the high ground position, they are trying to make sure you do not get any closer to their spot. And now IA going for that play. They're getting actually backstabbed by the zombies right behind them, struggling a fair bit. And
everyday pala guys, i-stream natin to hanggang finals.
As possible, but they're also possibly going to be mowed down by Na'Vi on the high ground spot. And we're talking about that IA losing almost everyone except Revers, I believe it is, and they are just getting naded down like it's absolute nothing. This is looking like a mini red zone concentrated on their current location. This is a hilltop position. You're still opportunistic. You're going to be taken down by teams around you, and so far, Myth and Geek Fam are taking that chance to ruin the opportunity of Na'Vi of being on top of this game.
DS still fighting. Once again, Rabiz is stepping up. Lapis does get Kitsune on the sidelines as Frankie and the ZZP really good. from Xavier. I thought DS Gaming had the better of them, but it seems like Xavier are
Pag
going to
mag-scope, lipat ka agad yung camera, no?
Very nice job by Xavier.
Okay, that's
Nililisin yung
circle is
ano,
huge for
nag-expectate.
Reject. You've got to be careful. Still got widespread duello, especially being really close to Myth. It could work out for them. But man, this fight is so confusing. You have 4 teams literally right on top of each another almost. And they are all in nade range, but I think that so many came out already. There's no more nades to go for. There's no more nades to use. So you have to go for the shots yourself. Na'Vi, though, despite having so many players knocked, they got back up as a 4-man crew. And that will be enough to take down the opposition of IA, as they are the first team to go down in this 4-way skirmish.
Oh my
But Na'Vi, they'll get
God.
into the cars. They want to move away. But another mini red zone drops right on top of the head.
Ito ng grenade, ako push na yung DXR.
They're
Oh.
going to be having to take that 5 versus Dig
Layo
Xavier
pala.
as they get completely shut down, and Na'Vi will be out in 7th. Dig Xavier out of nowhere.
Wala
picks up
round na
1
ng
kill.
BL
That's
to.
huge.
Round na
Good
ng ball
morning,
to.
Vietnam. Insane from the Xavier. Opportunistically pulled out. The fact that they were able to take out DS Gaming meant that they were able to then focus on Na'Vi. And Na'Vi weren't aware. They tried to disengage, and they paid the price for it. Fnatic Zombies go down. Finally, 5 teams, 18 players left
10
in
kills.
the open field
DXL.
finish of a wrangle.
Balgeek meets
Lamborghini sees
DXRC.
the car of another brand, and he's not happy, so he's going to mow that one down. And slow down the attempt of Geek Fam to actually get into the circle itself, but they got to get through that field. They're going to do that with the smokes right now, and they're pushing very close to Myth. And Myth has been a relatively passive team this game, I would say, Imperium. So in terms of nades, they must have an insane amount to deal with, and that would make that fight so easy versus Geek Fam that has been somewhat struggling to get in that spot in the first place.
Martin na naman. Itong Martin na to, game 1 pa to ah. Hihigil na ako talaga dyan ah. Hihigil na ako dyan sa Martin na yan eh.
Xavier has 1 knockdown, 2 are now starting to breach in. Lamborghini and Frankie together. If they can squeeze out Martin and get that knock and a kill onto Martin, that will at least give an opening for a revive onto Rabbids. But until that happens, Martin is just going to continue to pressurize and allow the rest of the team to push maybe a little bit more heavily onto the Xavier.
How are Valda's doing it? This is another top 5 game. Back to back to back. And they are maybe going to be turning it into another top 3. And if they can, I mean, you said it earlier, right?
Top
Can we
5 na
see them
naman yung
actually
ball, no?
find
Puro
closer
6
to a
points
game
now.
and get themselves a win?
Napag-secure
If
na
they
6
do so,
points.
they'll be creating such a huge lead in the very first day that it'll be really hard to surpass it in day 2, 3, or 4. So other teams around them got to be careful and pay attention that if this team starts running with the lead now, it's going to be really hard to close off that gap afterwards. That's great shot coming out from QB, but be careful, you're also in range of Myth. He's going to trace some utility back and forth, but the circle's about to shift, and that's going to be the deciding factor of this game, as Snipes has the perfect angle underneath that car, and he gets himself Rio down on his knees, and he's trying to shut down the entirety of
Yun
Myth.
na!
The spray here switches over to the M4, taking a lot of damage in the process. In the
Ito na, di magkatamaan. Gogo, mga
Geek
mit.
Fam is there to assist him, and Myth again completely overwhelmed, as only Farok is going to be up and ready to go, but unfortunately,
Yari,
has
isa na lang
no
nakatayo
spot to
sa
fight
mid.
from.
Like,
Panzer.
that's beautiful from Geek Fam, right?
First kill nila yan, ha? First kill lang Geek yan.
When he started to
First
take a
points
bit of
nila yan.
damage, he stepped back, and the rest of the
Yung mid
team
pala, wala pang
was
kills din.
trading the damage and just suppressing your opponents beautifully. Farouk can go nowhere as the circle shifts towards.
Bakit may nag-aaway sa comment section? Wala mag-aaway.
Incredible.
Isang bandera lang tayo ngayon. Blacklist lang muna tayo.
It is exactly
Bakit nag-aaway pa? Paano mag-aaway?
They're trying to sneak forward. Luckily, they got a rock to play from, so that could create a little bit of an advantage, but great use of utility. And as you said, Martin is indeed going to be the one trying to...
Pagka international na laban, isang bandera lang tayo, guys.
This one, so now only 4 teams remain. Dig Xavier, 10 kills out of nowhere after that last fight with Na'Vi. Now they're looking to try and take more and more control. Lamborghini on the forefront, Frankie ready to join up too, while leaving Rabbids on the more back end of things to maybe be that insurance for the team. The smokes dissipate, and now it's anybody's game.
Reject. The Japanese team got
May
one
ball,
kill
oh.
in game
Sound
1.
control na nilo.
They pick it up, grabbing 3.
Sila lang nasa loob.
They're
Tignan
looking
niyo yung spread
good.
nila.
The top 4 with 6 kills.
Parang hindi na sila magpapapasok eh.
Strong on their rotations on the west, but now can they deal with the might of the Malaysian geek? As their shots are being fired up
So
by
close.
Snipes.
Oh, that was such a close spray. A little bit more to the left, and that would have been a knocked on Duello. Still some utility. Nade connects. Duello down 50%.
Ano itong mga ball na ito? Pagkatampaling ko talaga yung mga yan. Masyado na malakas yung Martin dyan eh.
Also, Xavier is actually working out significantly well. Frankie's knocked down first. Duello will be the next one to follow up. Geek Fam are doing God's work on this game, Imperium.
controlling the south.
Smoke.
Valdez controlling the north.
Oh, that's the run up. That's the vine. Go for it with UMP. Not off bullets. Though you've got to pre-fire, but you've got to be careful when you pre-fire
Ako
with
po.
such a weapon.
Ang ina, pabor na pabor sa bala nagaganap. Pabor na pabor.
Valdez is once again get a top 3 back.
Pabor na pabor. Abangan na lang nila yung may matitira dyan. Abangan na lang. No? Sabi ko na nga, ang galing ko mag-predict talaga eh. Alam ko ng ball talaga yan eh.
It's all theirs. It's theirs for
The game.
Naabangan na lang nila yung mananalo dyan eh. Tignan nyo mo. Wala na.
Literally nothing you can do unless you get
Okay, no 6 concept po. Ano po?
or Molly to push them out of the hay bale, then maybe things could work out. Skill is gonna
Ayan, ayan. Patay mo. Patay mo yung ahas na yan.
and he's instantly going for the
Sige.
kill. He has the eyes on the
Ayan,
prize.
nabawasan. Napilayan.
Now down to
Napilayan,
three.
pero wala.
That'd be enough for
Control
Valdez
pa
to
rin
get
ng
the
bal
win.
eh.
We'll have to see.
And the revive was played out onto QB.
7 kills na yung geek. Biglang
Geek
bumangat
have a
yung kill
full
ng geek.
squad. Valdez are down to 3. Xavier is left to 1. And look at Frankie. He's crawling around. He's looking for information. Let's see if Rabis can do something with that info.
Yeah, that's a good thing when you're playing in these field finishes.
Uy,
That
grenade.
made way too close for comfort.
Grenade ba yun?
I think they're
O
just
di
bringing
pumatok.
his hair for a quick
Grenade
second.
nga.
But Frankie will be confirmed out by QB.
Top 1 na ball.
Kills
Tapos
over
pasok
Geek
pa ng
Fam
top
too.
3 ngayon.
Seemed like that
Puta.
reposition we talked about, getting the information on the high ground was
Thailand team yata sila.
so important for them to
Thailand.
get in this spot in the first place. And now they're sneaking. And you've got to keep in mind, Imperium, there's a little bit of an overhang that is going in favor of Geek Fam. That's extra information that split-second difference could make the difference indeed in those gunfights versus Valdez and Geek Fam.
Second they breach over that hill, they've
Ayun na,
no cover.
tangina
That
Martin
makes it
talaga
harder.
ti. Tangina Martin talaga ti. Mataas ang pal ko na talaga ti.
Nice game, still a lot of kills, and especially
Kanina pa yan eh.
10 position point coming your way, so still a banger for them. Now the fights are going to be happening.
Ayun, bagsak si Concept.
Pushed away. Concept going to be spotted out. Maybe
Sige, kailangan nila makatikin ng ball kasi masyado silang aangat pag nakuha pa nila yan.
To hold on to the edge, and they are getting completely surrounded by foes. Geek Fam will take
Ato, verse 2.
6 is going to be still up and ready.
Ato, first one. Ayun, tangina nabati yung ball. Binati ko eh, basta binati ko, hindi nakaka-chicken eh.
Geek Fam taking this off. The game over here.
Binati ko na kagad eh. Nabati ni Gaspiori, nawala tuloy yung chicken.
Is the name
Tama lang yan.
and that is what
Hindi kayo dapat maka-chicken. Kasi baka pag naka-chicken yan, kakakata sila masyado, top 1 na yan eh.
So well controlled from Geek Fam. They did really deserve
Ayun,
that chicken there. That is one thing to be said. They did deserve
Nice
that
one.
how they played. On
Geek
the South,
Fam.
dealing with Reject, dealing with Myth, dealing with somewhat Xavier. Like, and they still
Oy, oy.
survive as a
Teka,
full
disconnected
squad.
na ako. Lalabas na ako ng room.
It
Saglit.
speaks
Labas na ako ng
highly
room.
of
Saglit.
how they set themselves up throughout that whole
Ba ako nakakalabas ng room.
But also, to be fair, Valdez.
Binati ko talaga para hindi sila
They
maka-chicken.
did. I hate this out.
Oy, yung room, saglit lang. Baka makita ng mga viewers natin. Baka makapasok.
Give them. It
Saglit.
was a bit.
There was a lot of an effort coming out from them. It was a really good attempt, but it seemed like the one little shots that Geek Fam were able to find created that huge man advantage, and that man advantage is
Basta binabati ko talaga.
to suffocate the opposing team.
Nawawala.
So good execution from Geek Fam. I think they were one of the teams that were seen from a lot of the viewers. And